Okay, good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, May 20th, 2021. We're looking at the S&P 500 futures market, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis. Sorry about that. And so let's go ahead and look at our super high time frames very quickly here. Same story as it's been for the last month or two. Same story on our monthly. And our weekly, again, had that bearish indication at the end of May 7th and then the end of May 14th, and we've already got the sell-off. Now, it doesn't seem to have been able to break that 29 low, and they're still holding above it. We got a big sell-off yesterday, but still was able to hold that 52 area or 55 area, and now we're bouncing again. So, from that perspective, things are still looking strong here despite the pullback. Now, they're starting to hold. Now, what I'm noticing from the lower end here is we are pushing to higher lows, but now we're pushing to lower lows. So we're getting what could be a potential bullish divergence off the lows on the weekly. We do have, today and tomorrow, so 2 full days in order for this to work. On our daily, we again had those bearish signals back before the whole sell-off and then before the smaller sell-off that we had over the last 2 days. And currently, there's no indications of divergence or anything in this area. Currently, I don't see anything. Sorry, I got distracted there. Someone keeps calling my phone. But we do have not much to be said at the moment from our daily perspective. So it's not going to really help us into the open right here. Again, this candle has all day to develop, and there's really no clear signals outside of the bearish signs we had before the sell-off. Let's take a look and see if our 4 hour is helping us out in any way. What I am noticing here is a bullish divergence off of the previous daily low. Outside of that, currently we had kind of a double top scenario with some bearishness, but that's already got the pullback, and now we're bouncing up to break through. So I'm not even going to worry about that indication. But we did have somewhat of a bullish indication off 55.50. And in our study session today, we're going to talk about this level here and what we saw yesterday just after we bounced from there. So remember, in our actual trading session, I told everyone once we bounce from 55.50, because of the signals we were getting down here, that we could expect a push above that whole chop zone and then potentially, get long on a pullback, which we were able to do actually right off the level I mentioned off 77. And, it did pull back a little deeper, but there was a good launch off 77 there. So we'll talk about that today. Currently on this candle that's going to close in about 45 minutes, we could potentially see a bearish setup here where we make a higher high, but the RVI either stays the same or closes a little bit lower. But for now, what it looks like we're doing is we're pushing to come up and at least break through 50% of the previous day and potentially come up to test the CP, if not that swing low there at 36.50. On our 60-minute, we have again that double top scenario in the overnight session, and got the bearish pullback from that indication at just around midnight Pacific time. But now we're bouncing, and you can see that there's definitely a clear bull divergence now that we get down to these shorter time frames and we get some resolution on the pullback here. We do have a bullish indication from that low. Now, if I jump back to the 4 hour, don't quite see that indication, but when we get to the hourly, it clears up, and we can definitely see a nice bullish indication right here off of the overnight low. So we have launched now 83 to 30 points or more, almost 40 points now, and that could be all that we get. But what I'm also noticing is, although we might have a bearish indication here on our 4 hour, our hourly still looks pretty strong, no signs of exhaustion in the move, which tells me we're probably going to continue pushing here on the 4-hour, and this no longer will hold that indication by the time this candle closes in 45 minutes. So right now things look pretty strong, and if you look at where we bounced overall here, you can see it was pretty much a 50% retracement. Now I know that's kind of messy in there. I had to increase fonts in here so everyone could see the numbers clearer, and it by default makes the fib numbers also really big. So it kind of covers it up, but it basically was a 50% retracement of this leg, and then we bounced with this 60-minute divergence. So we're going to go to the shorter time frames and see if we get similar indications, and if so, then it's pretty clear why we bounced at that level. So let's go to our intermediate time frames here, see what they're saying. Same situation here. So we had a really nice bull divergence from our 60-minute and 30-minute in the overnight session here. And right off the 50% retracement level, now we're pushing higher, and the 30-minute looks exactly like the 60-minute, which is good. So far, like I said to some people before we started this pre-market analysis, is we're probably going to end up breaking through this 50% of the previous day level here, which is also the KP. And then we have a little bit further up, and the CP here, if you measure the whole leg down, that CP lines up with the 61.8 retracement. Now there are two things that need to be said here. Although we have the CP here at about 32.50, we want to keep in mind we have these two swing lows. So if you look at where my cursor is here, right around that 33, what's the actual low? 41.34, we have this swing low that has really not been tested. And then back here, this swing low at 36.50 that has really not been tested. So we could potentially push just a little bit through the CP right into that 34 level or 36.50 level and then have a stronger reaction. But again, if we get a nice clear multi-time frame signal at the CP, it's worth a shot. We just want to keep in mind it might be for a smaller pullback that eventually pushes in to one of these other levels. On top of that, if we continue pushing, we do have the KP lining up with that major swing low back here. So these are all the things we're going to want to keep in mind if the market continues to push into the open here. So let me just go ahead and mark this bullish indication right here. And again, and F8. Thought we had all F8. Yeah, there we go. So 30-minute and 60-minute, nice bull indication off the overnight low. No signs of exhaustion as we push. On our 10-minute, now that's the kind of divergence I love to see. We have a push down and then a nice classic reversal signal. Right off again, the 50% retracement of this whole push up from the previous daily low here at 55.50. And no signs of exhaustion on this push. So we're coming into that 23 level, which is 50% of the previous daily price action, and we have the KP right there. So it might react off it, but I'm skeptical of this kind of being it because we have no clear signs of exhaustion in this push up on all of our intermediate time frames. And so we have somewhat of a bullish bias here this morning. We do have some areas of resistance, the 23 up here, and then obviously the CP with 36.50, and then that swing low at 34 right in that area. We could expect some resistance. On the pullback, there are a lot of interesting levels down here that we could potentially find a really great buy. So if the market does sell off into the open here, we can look to see if we can get a reaction somewhere just in front, if not right at the CP here. And then if that breaks, again, we're looking for clear signals to try the level. So you could blindly buy every single level on the chart, or you could wait and see if you're getting clear signals there and then try to get into the market. So that's kind of where we are right now. And we have about 10 minutes until the open here. Let me just see if there's anything else important to point out.